Hey, good evening, everyone. So, the chicken has finally come out to roost, and I am so happy about it. An international body is finally holding this government accountable for their actions. I don't know how many of you have been following the UN Human Rights Committee consideration on Guyana that recently took place, but they are finally holding this government accountable for harassing and bullying social media influencers, social media personality, activists, and media operatives. This was a long time coming because what this government has basically done is weaponize the Cybercrime Act and the Guyana Police Force as a legal mechanism to silence activists like myself. So they were shocked when they were, I should say, they were shocked when they were faced with these questions, or I should say, Gail Tashiro was shocked when she was faced with these questions because she didn't know what to say. And they were shocked because they have been getting away with these injustice and these inhumane acts and beliefs and practices for so long that they actually thought that, you know what, nobody was watching and nobody was seeing what that international community wasn't watching, and the international community wasn't seeing what was happening and what was taking place in Guyana. um, so normally what happens is, normally when you have human rights violation happening in a country, you will many of you will notice, well, the US embassy will put out a statement, the United Nations will put out a statement, CARICOM will put out a statement, and all these ABC countries or international body will put out statement, as it relates to as it relates to the human rights violations that's taking place within the country. So because for the last couple of years the PPP have not been hearing anything from these international body, they felt as though that they have gotten away scotch free. So Gail basically went there unprepared, sat there to answer questions, and was shocked and taken back that the Human Rights Committee was so informed as to what is happening in Guyana. They had all the evidence. She tried lying. They had all the evidence and they had all the facts, so they know what was happening. Here's the funny thing: they would have talked about the human rights committee would have brought up or would have questioned Gail. Had a discussion. They talked about about the government controlling state media, state institutions, and all these things. Only, only for media houses like Newsroom, Guyana Chronicle, Guyana Times, NCN, and all these news agency to prove them right. Because you know what, they didn't report anything on the UN questioning of Gail Tashir. You know what they reported? They reported Alan Nandalal response, Jagdio response, and Irfan and the president response to these allegations and these questions. But they didn't actually give a report, or they didn't actually cover anything that was asked, or that was taking place during that inquiry, which only proves exactly what the Human Rights Committee is saying about them controlling media houses and the state media. So that was funny because I was waiting to see what Newsroom was going to say, what Guyana Chronicle was going to say. Silent. They didn't say anything. Then the vice president came out and he said, oh, he would like the Human Rights Committee to give him a list of names and organization that would have reported his government to them. They're not going to do that. But I'm sure the reports that they received from myself and other activists and other organizations, I'm sure they would have done their investigation. So they know what we said to them was the absolute truth and nothing but the truth. So they're not going to release that to you. But I'm saying proudly that I'm one of those activists that would have reported this government to the FBI and to those international bodies. So Jajo himself would have come out publicly on his Facebook Live and said that he is coming after influencers and activists that live abroad that feel as though they can speak against his government, or they can talk against his government, as though the PPP is above criticism and nobody's supposed to speak out about anything that the PPP does wrong. We are supposed to just sit as citizens and take what is being meted out to us, all the nepotism, racism, dictatorship, blatant disrespect for the law, because I am sure the UN would have done their investigation. They weren't just asking Gail those questions because they actually wanted Gail to answer those questions. They were asking Gail. It was basically just a formality, because they knew they know not they know exactly what is happening in Guyana. They knew what have or had been happening for years from since this government took office. So they are well aware of what's happening. And for you to come and say, oh, you need names and you need names of organization and persons who would have reported your government, Jack, you're going on like, you don't think the UN gets social media? You don't think those people would have had operatives in Guyana doing their investigation, interviewing organizations, interviewing activists, questioning activists, interviewing reporters and journalists that your government would have victimized? They were there. They were on the ground doing their interview. They were on the ground doing their interview, doing their investigation. So they know what they were talking about, and they know what they were saying. So, um, an investigation is coming. An investigation is coming. I'm happy. I know that for those of you that have been following the Human Rights Committee consideration on Guyana, and they asked a number of questions on a number of issues as it relates to corruption and every single thing. But in not this video, I'm only addressing the bullying and harassment of social media influencers and activists, because that's something that personally affects me. Like, not only that, talking about that, it's like, so we have Nigel Darmalal every single day on his page, tagging the U.S. Embassy, tagging the U.S. Embassy, tagging the FBI, while he's calling me from one bitch to one whore to the next, and talking about extortion and all these things, and harassing me daily, who is a former member of parliament, who is still a member of the PP party, who is still a member of your party, doing these things. And then, Jack, you have the nerves to say, give me. Your people from your party has basically given me all the evidence and everything that I need to submit to the Human Rights Committee, to submit to these international bodies. That is harassment and defamation and all these things. Y'all have given me all the evidence to submit, and y'all continue to do that daily, every single day. So I don't know if it's ego, or I don't know, this government is just plain dumb. But let me tell you what's going to happen after this inquiry. A report is going to come out, and that report is going to go to the United Nations General Secretary. He's going to get that report based on their findings, based on the evidence that they have, based on the fact. They're going to give a report on those things, and based on Gail Teixeira response, nonchalant response, I must say, they're going to give a report on that. That report is going to be submitted to the UN General Secretary. Then the UN General Secretary is going to submit that report to the other international community, the US Congress, the UK, all these other international bodies, and all these other international community will have those reports. And those reports that is well put together, well investigated, comes with all the evidence and the fact. So the international community is going to know and is going to see exactly what is happening in Guyana. So yes, big and mighty Jack Dio that recently went at Babu Jan and tried to frighten other political opponents about coming out. He's waiting to see who are the parties that are going to be coming up against the PPP, because they're waiting and they're ready, trying to like frighten other people from running for president or running for office and these things. That scare tactic is not going to work, Jack Dio, because there are consequences. There are consequences. There are legal consequences for your government actions. And it's coming.